ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतः पदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातां सहगणा रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगणा ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितंश्च नमो ओं विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामीति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे वंशकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 रामो राम रामो हरे हरे। Hare Krishna. Welcome all of you all for today's Gita class. So we have been discussing the fifth chapter of Bhagavad Gita. So the fifth chapter is entitled Karma Yoga, Action and Krishna Consciousness. So we discussed till verse number 5. Just give me 1 second, I'll just come back. Yeah, sorry. So we discussed till verse number 5. So just to give like a quick recap of what's been going on. So in the fifth chapter, it begins with Arjuna asking Krishna, "My dear Krishna, tell me which is better. Tell me for certain which is more beneficial, renunciation of work or work in devotion." So Krishna tells that both are the same, but of the two, work in devotion is better. And then we saw in text 5, Krishna says, those who are intelligent, they know that one can reach the goal of spiritual realization by both ways, either through Sankhya or through Karma Yoga. So Karma Yoga means Bhakti Yoga, right? So either through the process of Jnana, Sankhya or Karma Yoga, one will ultimately reach the same thing. So Srila Prabhupada explains how both are interconnected. So it's not, Arjuna was thinking that both are independent processes. But Krishna is saying no, both are interdependent and both have a common aim. Because through Sankhya Yoga, analytical study of the material world, what is the aim? The aim is to find the soul of existence, right? And who's the soul of existence? Vishnu. Vishnu is the soul of existence. And in devotional service, what do? Serve Vishnu. In one, you find the source, Vishnu, you research and find the source, and in devotional service, research is already done, you directly serve. So Srila Prabhupada says in one, you're trying to find the root of material existence, and in the other, you're watering the root. So detachment from matter, which is like the aim of Sankhya, and attachment to Krishna are both same. Vasudeve Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojitaha Janayati Ashu Vairagyam Jnanam Chayat Ahetukam. Bhagavatam says that once you do bhakti to Krishna, ahetuki bhakti, automatically detachment will come. Right? So in one sense, both are the same. So Krishna says one who sees Sankhya and Karma are same, sees things as they are. But we also know that Krishna himself has explained, but of the two, devotional service is better. If you see text 2, Krishna says, renunciation of work and work in devotion. Sankhya or Jnana Yoga and Karma Yoga or Bhakti Yoga are both same, but of the two, devotional service is better because soul by nature is active and the soul needs engagement. In the process of devotional service, we have activities, but in the process of jnana, you try to artificially stop activities. So such a person has a risk of falling down. But the process of devotional service can purify the heart and actually develop true detachment. So Krishna's recommendation is both are okay, but the path of bhakti is better. So if you read Gita very carefully, you will see that Krishna is stressing on the path of bhakti as the most superior activity. So this is where we discussed last time. So today we will discuss from text number 6. Sannyasa tu mahabaho dukkam aptum ayogatah yoga yukto munir brahma na chirena adigacchati. Word to word, sannyasah, the renounced order of life. Tu, but mahabaho, O mighty armed one, dukkam, distress, aptum, afflicts one with ayogatah, without devotional service. Yoga yuktah, one engaged in devotional service. Munihi, a thinker. Brahma, the supreme. No chirena, without delay. Adigachati, attains. So Krishna says here, merely renouncing all activities, yet not engaging in devotional service cannot make one happy. But a thoughtful person engaged in devotional service can achieve the supreme without delay. So this is like a straight verse Krishna is saying. Sannyasa tu mahabaho dukkam aptum ayogatah. So one was trying to renounce, artificially renounce on this path of Gyan or Sankhya and is not practicing devotional service. Ayogatah, one who's not connected. So yoga means connection. One who is doing renunciation, but he is not practicing devotion. So Krishna says, such a person will not be happy. Dukkham, he will experience misery. But yoga yukto munir brahma. But a devotee, munir means a rishi, but Prabhupada translates muni as a thinker, a thoughtful person. So it's very important that we remain thoughtful, right? We think. Srila Prabhupada would say, today's society is simply living, hardly thinking. No one thinks. So spiritual life is for those who think, those who are thoughtful. What is the purpose of life? Those who are philosophical. So being philosophical is very, very important. As we see the problems in this world, as we see birth, old age, disease, death, we should become thoughtful. So Krishna says, Yoga Yukto Munir Brahma, no Chirenadi Gachati. So a devotee who is connected to Krishna, Yoga Yukta, who is connected through the process of Bhakti Yoga to Krishna, no Chirenadi Gachati. Such a person will attain the Supreme without delay. Who will attain the Supreme? A Vaishnava will attain. So Srila Prabhupada gives a very beautiful purport. The difference between a Vaishnava and a Mayavadi, or a Vaishnav sannyasi and a Mayavad sannyasi. So Prabhupada says there are two classes of sannyasis, or persons in the renounced order of life. A Mayavadi sannyasi who follows the path of Jnana Yoga, and a Vaishnav sannyasi who follows the path of Karma Yoga or Bhakti Yoga. So what are the differences? So first is, the Mayavadis are engaged in study of philosophy. They think that they are very, very intelligent and they study Vedanta, the Vedas from different angles. And the more interpretations they find more ecstasy. Like when Lord Chaitanya met Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, who was the guru of the Mayavadis. So Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, for like 7 days continuously, he was explaining to Lord Chaitanya Vedanta, the Vedas. And after explaining the whole thing, he asked Lord Chaitanya, 7 days you have been hearing, not one question you have. Did you understand anything or not? Lord Chaitanya said, the Vedas are clear. They are like the sun. But your interpretation is like a cloud. that is covering the actual meaning of the Vedas. So the Mayavadis love to twist the meaning and give. Like Prabhupada explains in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna tells in the Gita, Sarva Dharman Parityajya Mam Ekam Sharanam Vraja. What is Krishna saying? Give up all varieties of religion and surrender unto me. Finish. It's very simple. But the Mayavadis, they will not take the straight meaning. They tell, what is the meaning of this verse? Krishna is saying, surrender unto the Parabrahman within me. So this is the problem of the Mayavadis. They cannot read scripture straight. They want all twisted meaning, mental speculation. They love mental speculation. They love to play with their mind and intelligence and study, and find new meanings in it. So Prabhupada says the difference between Mayavadi sannyasi and a Vaishnava sannyasi is Mayavadi sannyasis engage in the study of Sankhya philosophy or the Vedas, but the devotees are engaged in the study of Srimad Bhagavatam, which is Amalam Puranam. It is like the essence of all Vedas. So who is engaged? The devotees of Krishna are engaged in the study of Srimad Bhagavatam. They relish the study. But the Mayavadis are studying Vedanta. And someone may say the Mayavadis study Vedanta Sutra. Vedanta Sutra is like the summary of the Vedas. But Srimad Bhagavatam is the natural commentary on Vedanta Sutra. Who wrote Vedanta Sutra? Vyasadeva has written Vedanta Sutra. But after writing Vedanta Sutra, the last thing Vyasadeva wrote is Srimad Bhagavatam. So Srimad Bhagavatam is the commentary on Vedanta Sutra by the author of Vedanta Sutra, Vyasadeva himself. But the Mayavadis, they will not study Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the natural commentary on Vedanta Sutra. What they will study? They will study Shariraka Bhasya. What is Shariraka Bhasya? Shariraka Bhasya is the commentary that Shankaracharya wrote on Vedanta Sutra. Complete twisted meaning. Vedanta Sutra is very clear like the sun. Shariraka Bhasya is a complete twisted meaning. And the Mayavadi sannyasis love to study this. The first difference. The books that both study. Devotees study Srimad Bhagavatam. The Mayavadi study Shariraka Bhasya, which is like the commentary of Shankaracharya on Vedanta Sutra. The second difference, the Mayavadi sannyasis don't do any activity. They just keep studying Gyan, Gyan, Gyan. But the Vaishnava sannyasi is engaged in activities for the pleasure of Krishna. You'll find that the Vaishnava sannyasis cook also. You'll not find Mayavadi sannyasis cooking. You will never find Mayavadi sannyasis cleaning the temple. It doesn't generally happen. But the Vaishnava sannyasis, they do everything. They cook also, they clean also. They are ready to do everything, and they are happy engaged in the service of the Lord. But the process of Mayavad is actually very difficult and very dry. There is no element of bliss in it. It's all dry. Just like Lord Chaitanya, when he met Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, he told him, Bhagavatam and Vaishnav lifestyle is like eating rabdi, rasmalai, rasgulla, filled with so much juice. And what the Mayavadis do, their study of Vedanta is like dry cake, completely dry. They don't have any relish in the process. It's a very difficult process. Krishna tells in the 12th chapter of Bhagavad Gita also, those who follow the path of impersonal liberation, the Mayavadi line, their path is filled with too much difficulty. It's too difficult and too distressful. But the path of bhakti, Krishna says, Susukum kartum avyayam. The path of bhakti is filled with bliss. You can experience happiness even in our conditioned stage. So this is the second difference, that the Mayavadi sannyasis don't have any engagement. Therefore, their life is dry. The Vaishnava sannyasis have a lot of engagement in Krishna service. So therefore, their life is very, very happy. So sometimes Prabhupada says the Mayavadi sannyasis, because they are fed up of Shariraka Bhasya, they may come to study Srimad Bhagavatam. But still they cannot understand Srimad Bhagavatam because they are not learning from a bona fide spiritual master. And in this way, the Mayavadi sannyasi may sometimes fall down from a stage. And Prabhupada gives this example very often, that you'll find many of the Mayavadi sannyasis who start philanthropic activity. They start a school or they start anath ashram, all that. Why? Because they have not got any higher taste in their spiritual life. Therefore, they get into the mundane life again. They get into politics. They get into so many things. But the Vaishnav sannyasi, he doesn't fall down. So Prabhupada says the conclusion is therefore, those who are engaged in Krishna conscious activities are better situated than the sannyasis engaged in mental speculation. So those who are in Krishna consciousness, they are better situated. Even a grahastha who is there in the process of in the Vaishnav line, in the path of pure bhakti, is far elevated than even a Mayavadi sannyasi. Right? So this is the process of bhakti yoga, which Krishna is stressing here, is so wonderful. If we follow this process, we can remain happy in this world, and at the end of our life, we can go back to the spiritual world. But the Mayavadis may come to Krishna consciousness. Prabhupada says they may come to Krishna consciousness after many, many births. Bahunam janmanam ante jnanavam prapadyate vasudeva sarvamiti sa mahatma sudurlabha. They may take a lot of births. But by following the process of the Vaishnav path, the Vaishnav line, one can attain the highest destination very easily. Krishna is saying here, no chirenadi gacchati. Very soon. For the Mayavadis, bahunam janmanam ante. They may take lifetimes. They may reach that position, but they may take lifetimes. But for the Vaishnavas, what Krishna is saying here, no chirenadi gacchati. One will attain the Supreme very, very soon. So this is the difference between work in devotion and renunciation of work. Our Gaurang Priya Prabhu has composed this chart. So if you see these shlokas, even in the 3rd chapter and in the 5th chapter, there are many places Krishna explains and Prabhupada explains in the purport the difference between Mayavadi sannyasi and Vaishnav sannyasi. The first difference, which comes in the 3rd chapter, the Mayavadi sannyasi needs prior purification by prescribed duties. So generally, who's on the Mayavadi line, those who take karma sannyas, they have to experience purification by following varnashram system. But in the Vaishnav line, the process itself purifies. We need not, the process of bhakti yoga is so powerful, one need not take shelter of varnashram duty. The process of bhakti yoga is itself sufficient. The second difference, Prabhupada explains, simply jnana is insufficient for liberation. Just jnana is insufficient. If you remember, we discussed this last time. Someone may say, I know I'm spirit soul. Like the Mayavadis, they have this mantra. Soham, I am that spirit. Aham Brahmasmi, Aham Brahmasmi. I am spirit soul, I am spirit soul. They keep chanting. Just like we chant Mahamantra, they keep chanting like this. I am spirit soul, I am spirit soul. So Prabhupada explains in the purport, if someone is chanting and is just on the theoretical level, he has jnana, I am spirit soul, I am spirit soul. It is not enough for liberation. One must act in the status of spirit soul. What is the status of spirit soul? Jivere swarupoi Krishnere nityadas. Until you do service to Krishna, just doing repeated affirmations, I am spirit soul, will not help you. You will be stuck here only. That's why Shankaracharya explains at the end of his life, Bhajagovindam, Bhajagovindam, Bhajagovindam Udamate, Samprapte Sanhite Kale, Nahi Nahi Rakshati Dikran Karine. Your Gyan will not help you at the time of death. You have to act in devotional service. You have to act on the platform of spirit soul. And that is what Vaishnav Sannyasi does. This is the second difference. The third difference, the Mayavadi Sannyasis have a risk of fall down. They have a risk of fall down. Prabhupada gave this example, how a cat carries the kitten and how the baby monkey holds on to the mother monkey. The kitten doesn't have to put effort. The cat carries it. But the baby monkey has to put effort to catch the mother. If the baby monkey leaves, it will fall down. So Mayavadis, they tell Krishna, Krishna, I don't want you. The Mayavadis have like a lot of pride. My Gyan is sufficient. With the strength of my Gyan and renunciation, I will attain liberation. So they are completely dependent on them. So Krishna says, "ठीक है, all the best. You find the path on your own. All the best for you. You try on your own." But the devotees understand, Krishna, I need you. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu, my dear Krishna, please be merciful to me. I'm drowning in this ocean of birth and death. I am helpless. Deena, Hina, Akinjana. I am helpless. This is what a Vaishnav sannyasi feels. The Mayavadi sannyasi is very proud, but a Vaishnav sannyasi is completely humble. So therefore, the Mayavadi sannyasi has a risk of fall down, but a Vaishnav sannyasi, success is guaranteed. No chirenadi gachati. One will definitely gain entrance into God's kingdom. Why? Because he is dependent on God. Krishna tells in the Gita, ye yatamam prapadyante tam staiva bhajamyaham. So Krishna says, as one surrenders, Krishna reciprocates. So the Mayavadis tell Krishna, Krishna, we will take care on our own. We don't need you. Krishna says, okay, I'll not interfere. But a Vaishnav sannyasi says, Krishna, we need you. Without you, I am helpless. Yogyata vichare kichu nahi more, tumara karuna sar. I don't have any qualification. So therefore, Krishna takes personal attention of the Vaishnav sannyasis. Third difference. The fourth difference is incomplete renunciation. So Prabhupada explains here, what is renunciation? There are two types of renunciation. We discussed this last time. Yukta Vairagya and Falgu Vairagya. Yukta Vairagya is where you use everything in Krishna's service, right? But the Mayavadi sannyasis, they renounce. So Prabhupada explained in the purport, if you all remember, we discussed this point last time, that if someone says, I renounce Bank of India, what sense it makes? Bank of India was never yours. How can you renounce? You can neither enjoy Bank of India nor renounce Bank of India because it is not yours. So we can't enjoy this world. Neither can we renounce this world because nothing is ours. So what we have to do? Use everything in Krishna's service. That's all. That is complete renunciation. So Prabhupada explains in the purport, Prapanchitya buddhya hari sambandhi vastuna mumukshvi parityago vairagyam falgu katyate. What is falgu vairagya? When something can be used in Krishna's service, why you are rejecting it? So the Mayavadi sannyasis don't have this understanding of renunciation. Devotees understand that complete renunciation is to use everything in Krishna's service. Manasa deho geho jo kichu more arpilu tuva pade nanda kishore. My body, my house, everything. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, in those days, he would travel in car to do Vrindavan Parikrama. And all the Babajis in Vrindavan, in Radhakund, were thinking, what kind of sannyasi this is? He's traveling in a car. But Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati was telling, everything is Krishna's property. The entire world is Krishna's property. So everything can be used for the pleasure of Krishna. Even technology can be used. So that's why you'll find Vaishnav sannyasis updated with technology. Latest technology there with them. I remember our Krishnananda Prabhu, who's as good as a sannyasi only. So Krishnananda Prabhu, before the latest gadget, any gadget to hear, in those days there was this MP3 player or whatever, all those players used to come. Before even outside people would have it, Krishnananda Prabhu would have that device. Latest device he would have. And he is like such an exalted soul. Why? Because he knows that everything can be used in Krishna's service. So this is the perfection of renunciation. The fifth difference, the Mayavadi sannyasis are finding the root. They're trying to do research. What is the root of material existence? They're trying to find it out. But the Vaishnav sannyasis have already found it. Why do you waste time finding? Like Prabhupada would say, what is the need for research? Research is already done. Research is done by great souls. You just follow their research paper. Mahajano yena gata sapanta. You just water the root of the tree. You don't have to go and cut the jackfruit. The jackfruit is already cut by the Vaishnavas. You just eat the fruit. But in the Mayavadi understanding, you want to cut the jackfruit. You want to find the root. But by the time you find the root of material existence, Vishnu, your life will be over. Bahunam Janmanam Ante. You may take lot of lifetimes, but a Vaishnav sannyasi, no chirenadi gacchati. Very soon he will come to Krishna. That is the fifth difference. The sixth difference is the process of renunciation, of artificial renunciation of the Mayavadi sannyasis. It's a process to detach from matter. They focus on neti, neti, neti. This is Maya, this is Maya, this is Maya. Right? They are trying to run away from matter, detach from matter. I don't want this, I don't want this, I don't want this. But you don't want all this. What do you want that they don't know? But the Vaishnavas, they don't focus on detachment from matter. They focus on attachment to Krishna. Param drishtva nivartate. Vishayamani vartante niraharasya dehinam raso varjam rasopyasya param drishtva nivartate. Until you get a higher taste, you can't give up lower taste. So instead of running away from trying to detach yourself from matter, it is intelligent to become attached to Krishna. Once you're attached to Krishna, detachment from matter is automatic. The shloka which I quoted, Vasudeve Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojitah Janayati Ashu Vairagyam Jnanam cha yad ahetukam. Once you do bhakti to Krishna, ahetuki bhakti to Krishna, automatically knowledge and detachment will come. One need not separately practice. What we need to practice is being attached to Krishna. That is the most important thing. So Vaishnav sannyasis focus on their devotion to Krishna, attachment to Krishna. They increase the intensity to achieve Krishna, and automatically material things pass away. The seventh difference, the Mayavadi sannyasis, they don't experience happiness. Like Krishna is saying here, their path is filled with too much difficulties. Dukkam aptum ayogatah. Their life is filled with misery. Very difficult process. The process of Sankhya, Mayavadi line, very difficult line. There is no bliss. But in the Vaishnav line, there is so much happiness. Everything brings happiness. Krishna Katha brings happiness, Krishna Kirtan, Krishna Seva, Krishna Prasad, Dham Darshan, Vigra Darshan, what all are there for us. The Mayavadi sannyasis don't have anything, huh? None of these things they have. They don't have any concept of prasad, they don't have any concept of deities, they don't have any concept of dham, they don't have any concept of dancing in kirtan. None of these things are there. Very difficult path. But the path of bhakti is susukum kartum avyayam, brings happiness. That is the seventh difference. The eighth difference is senses are restricted, cannot relish transcendental devotional service. They control their senses completely. Don't do this, don't do this, don't do this. With their senses, they don't do anything. If you restrict your senses, the senses will want some engagement. Na? Just like a child, there are two ways to deal with a naughty child or a hyperactive child. We will not call naughty child. We will say a hyperactive child. There are two ways to deal. One is you tell that child, sit down. Nothing doing, just sit down, otherwise I'll punish you. The child will sit down, but very scared. He's not in his best, he's not in the best of his material. Other way to control such a child is give that child positive engagement. You tell the child the language of don't do this, don't do this, don't do this. A better way is tell the child what to do. Tell the child, do this, Baba, do this, do this. If the child gets positive engagement, that's the best thing. So the Mayavadis have this philosophy, mind is, senses are active now, beat them down, tie them down, restrict. But the Vaishnav line is engage the senses, channelize the energy that you have, perform multiple devotional activities. So you'll find Srila Prabhupada, such a beautiful example of a Vaishnava sannyasi. Prabhupada would cook for the deities, he would cook for the Vaishnavas. Prabhupada would clean the temple. Prabhupada wrote books, performed deity worship. Practically every activity and any activity Prabhupada did. The Vaishnava sannyasis do. But the Mayavadi sannyasis don't do any of these things. They just sit and read Vedas. Day and night they keep doing that. The ninth difference, the Mayavadi sannyasis may have to take many births. Bahunam janmanam ante jnanavama prapadyate. They may take many births. They may come to that conclusion, Vasudeva Sarvamiti, they may come to that conclusion, but they'll take a lot of births. But the Vaishnav sannyasis, no chirenadi gacchati, quickly achieves the supreme. So what do we want? Do we want a path that is very slow, may take lifetimes, or we want a quick process? Kali Yuga is a time where time is very short. The phase where time is very short. We hardly have time for anything. So in this short lifespan, we want to achieve something very great. For that, the Vaishnav line is the best. The 10th difference, the Mayavadi sannyasi studies Sankhya philosophy, or in that, the next 11th point it says Shariraka Bhasya, which is the commentary by Shankaracharya on Vedanta Sutra. But the Vaishnav sannyasis, they will not study Sankhya philosophy. They will not waste time in, even in the Vedas, it's not necessary that everyone has to study every part of the Vedas. The Vaishnavas are not interested in studying the different parts of the Vedas. They focus on Srimad Bhagavatam, because Srimad Bhagavatam is that essence, Nigama Kalpataror Galitam Phalam. It is the ripened fruit of the Vedic tree. Sarva Vedeka Satphala. If the Vedas are compared to a tree, Srimad Bhagavatam is a ripened fruit. So why to read other things? Just focus on Srimad Bhagavatam. You will find our Shad Goswamis, the greatest renunciates the world has ever seen. They were happily engaged day and night in studying Srimad Bhagavatam. They would relish Srimad Bhagavatam. Raghunath Bhatta Goswami would chant the shlokas of Srimad Bhagavatam in 6-7 different melodies for the pleasure of the other Goswamis. Very happy studying Srimad Bhagavatam. This is the 10th and the 11th difference. And the 12th difference is the Mayavadi sannyasis may fall down. Very risky. They may fall down and get into so many other philanthropic activity. They might start some charity hospital. They may do that. They may do this. They may do that. They may get into politics. But the Vaishnav sannyasis have no time only to do all this, because they have multiple engagements in devotional service, fully engaged in the process of Bhakti Yoga. So this is the difference between Mayavadi sannyasis and the Vaishnav sannyasis. Okay. So now we go to the next section, verse number 7 to 12, which speak about performance of Nishkama Karma, working with detachment. So what does it mean to work with detachment in the path of Krishna consciousness, in the path of Karma Yoga? What does it mean actually? How does it apply in our life? And what are the qualities of a Nishkam Karma Yogi? Krishna explains in the shlokas ahead. So text 7. Yoga Yukta Vishuddhatma Vijitatma Jitendriya Sarva Bhutatma Bhutatma Kurvan Apina Lipyate. Word to word. Yoga Yuktaha, engaged in devotional service. Vishuddhatma, a purified soul. Vijitatma, self-controlled. Jitendriya, having conquered the senses. Sarva Bhuta, all living entities. Atma Bhuta Atma, compassionate. Kurvan api, also engaged in work. No, never. Lipyate is entangled. So the translation is like this. One who works in devotion, who is a pure soul, and who controls his mind and senses, is very dear to everyone, and everyone is dear to him. Though always working, such a man is never entangled. So now Krishna has proven, or Krishna has established this point, that how Karma Yoga or Bhakti Yoga is superior to mere renunciation, artificial renunciation. So now Krishna is glorifying such a Karma Yogi or a Bhakta Yogi, one who's following the path of devotion, work in devotion. So Krishna is saying such a person is first pure, Yoga Yukta Vishuddhatma. So by the process of Bhakti Yoga, one can actually experience purity. Then Vijitatma, Vishuddhatma. Vishuddhatma means pure. Vijitatma means self-controlled. Jitendriyaha, one who has controlled his mind and senses. So Krishna is giving here few qualities of a Karma Yogi or one who's performing Bhakti. First is he is aspiring for purity. He is a pure soul. Second is he is controlled, or he is controlling his mind and senses. So such a person is dear to everyone. Everyone likes him and he likes everyone. How is this possible? Is it possible that there can be someone whom everyone loves and someone who loves everyone? It is possible if you are a Vaishnava. So Vaishnavas' hearts are so big. Paradukka dukhi. They feel for the suffering of others. Right? Um, just like Chanakya says, uh, I forgot that verse. Uh, he says one should see the wives of others as your own mother. One should see the wealth of others as dirt, but one should see the problems of others as your own. That is the mood of a Vaishnava. He embraces everyone's problem as his own. How does he get this quality? So Prabhupada explains very beautifully, because he is watering the root of a tree. This verse comes in the Bhagavatam. Just like if you water the root of a tree, automatically the branches, twigs, leaves, flowers, goes to every part. Or you feed food to the stomach, every part of the body is nourished. Everyone becomes happy. So if you water the root of the tree, every part of the tree is happy. Correct? Simple logic. If you feed stomach, every part of the body is happy. So all of us, every living entity is part and parcel of Krishna. Right? So if you water the root of the entire material existence, Vishnu, Janmadi yasya yataha. If you water Vishnu, if you satisfy Vishnu, what will happen? Everyone will be happy. Everyone will become happy with you. So this is the process. Such a person becomes dear to all. So Prabhupada explains here, one who works in Krishna consciousness is a servant to all. He is very dear to everyone. He considers himself the servant of everyone. Dasosmi. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, whenever he would write a letter to his disciple or to anyone, he would end it with saying, Dasosmi, I am your servant. Right? So devotee considers that I am servant of everyone, because everyone is part and parcel of Krishna. I am everyone's servant. So naturally, everyone becomes dear to this person, right? And because this devotee's consciousness is pure, his mind is controlled, therefore everyone likes such a person. See, all of us, whom do we like? One who has, if you ask yourself in your heart of heart, whom will you like? Someone who's pure, someone who's innocent, someone who has controlled his mind and senses. You will like such a person only. One who is completely uncontrolled, you will not like him, you will not trust him, right? So similarly, a devotee of Krishna, because he has all these qualities, naturally he is loved by everyone and everyone loves him. Right? So Prabhupada explains here, a devotee of Krishna, how does he control his senses? He fixes his mind in Krishna's service. Whatever he does only for the service of the Lord. So Prabhupada says here, he does not like to hear anything other than topics of Krishna. So who is a Nishkam Karma Yogi or a Bhakta? One who doesn't like to hear anything other than Krishna. If some other topic comes up, he feels very irritated. Why am I wasting my time? He wants to hear only about Krishna. He does not like to eat anything which is not offered to Krishna. Second point, he doesn't like to eat anything. He doesn't mind fasting. He will stay hungry, but he will not eat anything that is not offered to Krishna. That is not prasad. He doesn't like it. Even if he has to sometime eat it, he doesn't like it. Right? He does not eat anything that is not offered to Krishna. He does not wish to go anywhere if Krishna is not involved. Third, very beautiful point. If he has to go to some place, if Krishna is not there, if discussion about Krishna is not happening, he doesn't like to go. Why to go to Europe and come when I'm just doing sightseeing? There is a very interesting story. Devotees took Prabhupada to Switzerland. Switzerland, for people of India, it's like a great tourist destination. So devotees thought, let us give Prabhupada a good experience of Europe. They took Prabhupada to Switzerland. Prabhupada went there and Prabhupada was completely unimpressed. Prabhupada said, what is there in Switzerland? Everywhere snow is there. What is there here? There's nothing here. Let us go back. So devotee, if Krishna is not there, If service to Krishna is not there, he doesn't like to go there. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, once he was invited by one king, I think somewhere in Bangladesh, he was invited to speak there. But he went there and he didn't get an opportunity to speak Krishna Katha. Some other guru was there, someone else was speaking. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, he didn't eat one morsel of food. For days together, he didn't eat. He felt, what is the point? I am wasting my time here. It may be a great palace, but if there is no Krishna here, what I have to do in this palace? Just like we know that story now. After the war of Lanka, after Ravan was killed, Lord Ram and Sita and all the monkeys, they come to Ayodhya, and Sita is like so happy with Hanumanji because Hanumanji bought both of them together. So Sita tells Lord Ram, I think we should give Hanumanji some special gift. Lord Ram says, yeah, what do you think we should give? Sita says, I have this pearl necklace, we'll give this to Hanumanji. So she removes the pearl necklace, gives it to Hanumanji. Hanumanji, he takes the pearl necklace, hits it on the ground. He takes every pearl, bites it, and he throws it, bites it, throws it. Sita is thinking, what kind of monkey this is? I have given the most costliest pearl necklace, and this fellow is like carelessly, biting these pearls and throwing it away. Hanumanji is telling Sita and Ram, I'm trying to find out whether there is Sita Ram in this. If it's not there, if y'all are not there in this pearl, what is the use of pearl necklace for me? So a devotee, if Krishna is not present, he doesn't want to go to such a place. Whether it is Switzerland or whether it is heaven, whatever it is, if Krishna is not there, he is not at all interested in going there. Right? So these are three important points that Prabhupada is giving here. First, a devotee does not like to hear anything which is not related to Krishna. He doesn't want to waste time. Second, he does not like to eat anything which is not offered to Krishna, however fancy the food may be. The third, he does not like to go anywhere, wherever it may be, if there is no opportunity of speaking about Krishna, meeting devotees. He's not involved in this. He's not interested. So such a person is a pure devotee. And because his senses are controlled in this way, so how to control the senses? By engaging in the service of the Lord. That's what Prabhupada is saying here. So when Krishna is saying here, Jitendriya, Vijitatma Jitendriya, a devotee has conquered his senses. What is the way to conquer? By using everything, using the senses in Krishna's service. That's all. So someone may say, for a person who's controlled his senses, such a person cannot be offensive. Such a person is dear to everyone because he cannot hurt anyone. So Prabhupada says, he's asking a counter question. So a devotee should not hurt anyone. But how is Arjuna hurting others? Now Arjuna is going to kill everyone. Is that not offensive? Arjuna has to do it externally, but internally he is doing it fully out of compassion. So Arjuna is not revengeful against the Kauravas. He is doing his duty, God ordained duty. Whatever Krishna has told him, he is doing that duty, but with a heart of compassion. Right? He knows he is doing Krishna's will. Just like Lord Ram, when Lord Ram killed Ravan, he killed him, he did his duty, but he didn't have grudges against Ravan. In fact, after Ravan died, Lord Ram tells Vibhishan, you do the final rites for Ravan. So in this way, Prabhupada is explaining the point that a Krishna conscious devotee may have to sometimes be strong, but it doesn't mean that his heart has also become hard. In his heart, he is always soft only, because that is the nature of a devotee. He loves everyone. So Arjuna was killing Duryodhan, was doing his duty, but that also was out of love, because he knew by giving this punishment, it will help him only. You're getting the point? He is doing it for Duryodhan's benefit, because this person will not understand through any other way. Let him at least advance like this. So whatever a devotee does, whether he is very soft or is very hard sometimes, both ways it is out of love and compassion only. Like Srila Prabhupada sometimes would praise his disciples, sometimes would chastise. But every disciple of Prabhupada knew that whatever he's doing, even if it is chastisement, it is out of love. When Tamal Krishna Maharaj, I'll end with this point. When Tamal Krishna Maharaj and few devotees, Giriraj Swami and others, this Juhu land was going on. They were so fed up with the court cases of this Juhu land. They signed off the sale deed. They made the sale deed null and void. Prabhupada was so angry with Tamal Krishna Maharaj, so angry. Prabhupada, after that, for many days, every life member who would come to meet Prabhupada, Prabhupada would make Tamal Krishna sit in front of him and he would tell, this boy has spoiled the whole thing. This boy is such a big fool. He has spoiled the whole thing. And Prabhupada did this for days together. He chastised Tamal Krishna Maharaj in front of everyone and anyone. But Tamal Krishna Maharaj, even after Srila Prabhupada left this world, Tamal Krishna Maharaj relishes that chastisement. He would speak that chastisement with so much love. This is the love that my Guru had for me. Because he could literally feel that even in that chastisement, Prabhupada's love only is there. Because a pure devotee, whatever he does is for the betterment of all. Because he has no malice, no grudge in his heart. So in this way, Krishna is glorifying the path of pure bhakti, and the devotees of Krishna, the devotees of himself, those who are following this path. So from text 8, we will continue next time. Anyone has any questions, any comments? Okay, if no questions, we will end. Thank you very much, all of you all, for taking your precious time to be here. So we'll continue from this 8th shloka onwards the next time. Hare Krishna.